All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I am Tom. I'm here with George.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Just gonna
A better bank. Jeez.
clean
I'm
up.
closing on a property right now as we do this, just so everybody knows. And so I might have to break away. Sitting in the attorney's office. No, I did a mail away. And, man, but I'm sure no one cares about that. I'm sure everybody wants to, they care about how the hell are you, Tom Spinelli?
I'm starting to feel better. So, thank you everybody for all your well wishes over the last few weeks. I was down. I got pretty sick. I don't usually get sick, so that was kind of a new experience for me.
Do you think you got the COVID?
Well, that depends.
I think you should go through exactly what happened, because what happened to you is what's happening to everybody, and I think that people think that COVID's over with, and I think you should explain what you did and how come you didn't think it was as bad as it was.
All right. I mean, I'll spend a minute and just let you know what happened. I've been sick for about 3.5 weeks. Actually, I got sick on Thanksgiving, so I skipped my Thanksgiving with my family just to be safe because I have some elderly people that show up for Thanksgiving. So, I don't know, that had to be at least 3 weeks ago. And, so I didn't feel good, so usually I try and go 3-4 days and just see if I feel better, which I didn't.
Dad, don't say COVID anymore, we'll get demonetized.
Okay.
Oh, don't say COVID.
So.
Say, what can we call it?
The thing.
The thing. Okay, say the thing. Sorry.
So, all right. So anyway, I went to the doctor, got tested. I tested negative. So I tested.
For the thing.
I tested negative for the flu. I tested negative for the thing. But I mean, obviously there was something wrong with me, so they did what they always do and threw some antibiotics at me, and actually some steroids. So I'm ripped now. Added like 40 pounds to my bench. And so I took those. That was 10 days. The Z-Pack is, I guess, 5 or 6 days. So I took all that, and at the end of that time, I did not feel any better at all. In fact, I felt worse. I had an upset stomach, so I wasn't really eating, and I think that was a big part of my problem. I just wasn't getting any electrolytes or any of that. So I was bedridden for a week and took all my meds. Nothing happened. I went back to the doctors and tested negative for the thing again. And while I was there, so I was feeling really, really sick by then. So, and they have this thing in Florida where you're not allowed to actually go into the doctor's office. So
Don't say Florida.
They had this.
I'm just being funny.
They have this thing in this place.
Don't say Florida. Don't say hospital.
Don't say. Here's the following 100 words you should not say. I got some technical support going on right now. Is everything all right?
This was your third test for COVID? So your third test for COVID, and then I know the punchline.
So here's what happened. They said, okay, so here where I am, the procedure is they don't let you actually in the doctor's office. So I had to meet in the parking lot in the back. They had these wicker chairs. And so like I was in the parking lot for like an hour. And remember, I'm 2 weeks into being sick. I really haven't eaten in a couple of weeks. I've taken their medicine and I'm sitting in a parking lot. And finally they agreed, okay, we can't figure out what's wrong with you because they don't run any tests. They just gave me medicine because I was in the parking lot the first time. So they can't do x-rays or any of those things. So they brought me in for an x-ray. And at this point, I was so sick that they stood me up next to the x-ray machine. They turned the lights off and I just went down and smashed my head. And so from there, they had to take me to the hospital.
Did you take an ambulance?
Yeah, I had
Oh
to.
my goodness.
They
That's gonna be the
restrained
most
me.
expensive.
Oh, they put that thing on my neck so I couldn't move. They were sucking the life out of me. So they immediately, without, I guess it's their protocol. So they called 911. I took an ambulance to the hospital where I was just stuck. Like once you're in the hospital, I was stuck. So they tested me for the thing again when I got to the hospital, and again I tested negative, and then they put me in, they listened to my lungs and it did not sound good. So they did x-rays and they did a CAT scan. And when that came back, the guy was like, listen, we're going to give you a different test for the thing because we think you have the thing. And so then this was now, I think, my 4th test. And then that one came back positive. So I don't know what magic test that was versus all the other tests that I took. So then it was quarantine. Then they got to shut the door, put me in the C word ward, and so I was.
Is it true that people were screaming and like hitting the wall and saying, "Let me out of here"?
I was screaming. I had a little bit of a. I'm not a baby about pain. I mean, that's the truth. I can deal. I don't like being sick. Nobody likes being sick, but I'm not that much of a. But they gave me, they hooked me up with 3 IVs in the first 15 minutes I was there. So they were pumping me with, I had 2 different antibiotics going. Then they were putting fluids in me, and then they put some kind of potassium or something. But the guy had the dose wrong, and my arm went numb in like 30 seconds. But they don't care. He just left. So you're hooked up to 3 IVs. You can't move. You're immobilized. The room is soundproof. The door is locked. So I'm like screaming, like my arm is numb. I can't feel my arm. And finally, it took like 5 minutes. I got somebody's attention, and then she came in. She was like, "Oh, well, that's just the potassium. That's how it works." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Like, I'm in severe pain." And she goes and gets my nurse, and she's like, "Well, he's your patient. You deal with it." And then I'm like, "I'm in severe pain." He's like, "It's in your arm." I'm like, "Yeah, it's in my arm. I'm in severe pain." He's like, "It's just in your arm. Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "I got it." So he turned it like he had it set wrong because he turned it down, and I went from like severe pain to totally fine in 30 seconds. And then the potassium or whatever it was, it ran through my system in 15 minutes, and it didn't hurt at all. So, like, I know they got to deal with a lot of stuff, and they don't care, but it's like, so, yeah, the pain's in my arm. My arm feels like it's about to fall off.
Wow. But
So,
you're better now?
I'm better. I spent a week there. I had to bring oxygen home, so I'm on oxygen. I'm not doing it right now while we're talking. I can go an hour or 2 without it, but I do the oxygen overnight. And so ultimately I had pneumonia. So that was the bigger problem. And pneumonia lasts for, like she said, it's probably going to last another month.
Really?
But the key was getting me hydrated, getting the vitamins that I was missing in my system. And they ran me through all their other stuff, but I would say within 36 hours, I felt so much better. But I was stuck there for another week because then they got a protocol that they have to follow for the thing. So I had to do a series of treatments. So, I was just stuck. So I was very glad to get out. I can't tell you how relieved I was to get out of that place. I felt very, very trapped.
Well, let's dive in. Let's go. You ready?
Let's go. Let's do it.
We need to understand Bitcoin. And by the way, we had a little bounce just now. So
let's take a look.
As you're pulling that up, you know what I from December 4th to now, it's basically sideways.
Yeah, exactly. There's been no big move. We had our flash crash. So I'll just pull that out, and Like here, this was December 3rd. From top to bottom. No, it's more than that, isn't it? Yeah, because that's the 3rd, that's the 3rd, that's the 3rd. Okay, sorry, let me redo that. This is December 3rd. So that was almost 27%. Now, we made a bunch of that up because you'll see this is just a candle wick. We went right back up to 47,700. So if you drew a line where this flash crash ended, we were at 47,700. We are now at 46,900. I mean, that's within the margin of error. And we've been plus or minus of that ever since. We hit right away, we hit 51 right here. We hit 50 again here, and then on December 12th, which I think was Sunday, we hit 50,148. Since Sunday, so that's all week this week, we have not gotten back to 50. So really, we've gotten back to maybe 49,500. So we've been in a ultra here. Like that is a tight box we've been trading in. So it feels like a nightmare. And I know everybody, I got a lot of emails and a lot of texts and a lot of stuff in the Discord. This was these 3 weeks were a big panic for everybody, which I totally understand. But if you look at it from a big picture, I mean, look at this week. Let me get rid of this thing. You go, this was Monday. So I drew 3 circles. This was Monday. We were at 47,000. Let's see. This was about 46,700. This was Tuesday. We were about 46,700. This is Wednesday. We were at about 46,700. And right now we're at 46,900. So that's a sideways week. It felt like a roller coaster. It felt like chaos. And mostly that is because this right here happened yesterday. So that was about 14 hours of a slow trickle down. And it was only a slow trickle down right back to, like, this ends right exactly where we were to begin with. But the equity market was getting killed, and all of the Bitcoin miners got absolutely wrecked yesterday. And it is hard when things are sideways and your equities just keep going down and down, and your account is going down, and there's no logical explanation. That's the most frustrating thing of all. So I know this week was super frustrating. It's over, I guess, is the first thing I would say. So now we got all weekend for Bitcoin to do whatever it is that it wants to do. But I mean, nothing's happened. Nothing happened there.
Well, I think there's a lot of rumors going around right now, and hopefully my mic's better, by the way. There's a lot of rumors going on. I don't know if you heard that someone's saying that Russia's trying to ban crypto. I mean, not that anybody in Russia has any money to buy crypto, but, you know, I mean, that's, you know, the rumor on the street.
There's a lot of FUD. This is like the amount of rumors, and just a lot of it's just made up. Some of it's based on a true story, but the thing is, a lot of these things are such short-term ramifications. And I mean, look what happened. China totally went completely out of Bitcoin, and here we are right back at the same hash rate we were 6 months ago worldwide. So, you know, everybody thought that was the end of the world. The network's going to break down. There's not enough hash rate. It's going to be unreliable. Well, we're right back to where we were. And by the way, there's hundreds of thousands of machines ordered past this right now. So the global hash rate is going to go up. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 50% higher next summer. Which is the reason that these companies are in such an arms race to go get all these machines. Because if the global hash rate's going to increase by 50%, these guys need to increase their hashing capacity by more than that if they want to keep mining more Bitcoin. But the vast majority of the Bitcoin miners that we talk about, they they already have purchase orders in to do more than double or triple or quadruple their hash rate. So there was definitely a supply chain issue. It's the end of 2021. It's now mid to late December. Everybody was a little off their schedule. It wasn't dramatic and it wasn't radical, but everybody was a little behind where they thought they would be in December. And because the hash rate caught up so fast, July, everybody was just swimming in money in July and August because the global hash rate was cut in half. So, these miners were killing it. But they're still doing, everybody's November results were good.
Minus one person.
Minus one company whose November results were very confusing. We're talking about Marathon. I wish Marathon would do a better job of communicating. Their communication, their press releases stink. It almost just feels like they're trying to tank their stock because they have access to the information, and there is no reason not to give their investors up-to-date information. They have their own pool. Unlike all these other companies, Marathon has their own pool. Like, they don't need to wait to the end of the month and figure out what happened. They know, like, when they solve a block, they get it right there. That's it. They know.
But here's what's going to be interesting with Marathon is that it's going to be a rocky road because people are going to sue them.
They're already getting sued by everybody under the sun. The key is if their operations improve, a lot of these lawsuits tend to go away because people claim damages because the price of stock went down. But guess what? This is the nature of investing in equities. So, unless they can prove that there was some improprieties that went on, it is very hard to sue these companies and get money out of them. Not to say it's not going to tie them up in court endlessly, which it will, and that's a major distraction. That's the last thing these guys want to be doing. Their plate is full. But if they come out with if they knock December out of the park, it's going to be real hard to argue that they did a bad job.
So, who's the best value right now, Tom?
All right, I'll say a few names, and I will tell you, I did a really big analysis on Sunday, so that is a few days old now, but I was surprised how uniform. It seemed like chaos, but most of the miners that I cover were in a very tight range. They were all down. I compared November 28th to, I think, December 12th. Market cap to market cap, and did an analysis. Everybody was down between 32 and 38% in that period of time. And my perception was that certain things had gotten destroyed and other things held up okay, but it was very uniform. So I was surprised. And for all these things to be down 32 to 38%, even the companies that I didn't feel good about, down 32%, they were basically in a buy zone. So, I almost feel like every single one of these was in a buy zone. That's not to say they were all equal by any means. So to me, my top three that I came up with, to nobody's surprise, I'm going to say Bitfarms. Why
do you always put them on the top?
I'm just running the numbers. I run the numbers. It's not that, my calculation is not that complicated. The major factors that I put in there are the number of Bitcoin mined. I look at everybody's hash rate, and then I look at everybody's operation and how many Bitcoin they mined, and then I do a calculation, what's the efficiency of their hash rate? So just because two people have 2 exahash doesn't mean they're mining the same amount of Bitcoin. There's a lot of other variables that go into efficiency of the machines that you're running. So, there's 3 or 4 standouts whose efficiency is just higher than the other companies. So that's one thing. What's their exahash? What's their output? What's the efficiency of their exahash? What's their market cap? versus the Bitcoin that they mine on a monthly basis? What's their market cap versus the Bitcoin that they've hodled? That's the most complicated piece of the equation, because I know a lot of people fixate on, well, they have all this, these guys have all this Bitcoin and these guys don't have any Bitcoin, but it's really incredibly subjective as to what the value. I mean, obviously there's an actual value, but what's the multiple on the Bitcoin that you hold on your balance sheet? Now, obviously it's better to have more than less, so I give credit to those companies that have compiled a lot of Bitcoin and that have, the stronger your balance sheet is, the better your company is. And ultimately, at some point, CleanSpark's already doing this, and I know it's angering a lot of investors. CleanSpark's using their Bitcoin to buy machines. And I have to tell you, I know that at a knee-jerk reaction, it seems like, why would you give your Bitcoin away right now? But if you can give 10 Bitcoin away to get machines to get 100 Bitcoin in the future, there's math there that works. There's a balance to be had. You want to save your Bitcoin, especially if you are a bull on Bitcoin and you believe that Bitcoin is going to, go to 100,000, go to 150,000. Then you may look back and kick yourself that you sold some for 50. But if you sold those for 50,000 and they got you machines that doubled the amount of Bitcoin that you get, you got to factor all that out. It's much more complicated than the simple let's hodl everything and just go. Because here's the thing, a lot of these companies, I'll give you for instance, and this seems to be the hardest thing for investors to understand. You good? So if you look at, and I'm going to pick some companies that I like. I'm going to pick 2 or 3 companies that I like because I don't want to pick on anybody. There's a lot. HUT is one of my favorite companies. But they have, I think, 160 million shares outstanding. So CleanSpark has 37 million shares outstanding. So what that means, and let me check, it might be 116 million, but let's just have the right numbers so we're saying the right thing here. That was the scenic route. Hopefully, can you guys see this screen?
Yeah.
All right, so HUT was down 2% today. They're at $7.80. So I'm just going to do something because this is what investors tend to do. And a lot of you guys listening are probably much more sophisticated than this and you already understand it. But I like to just revisit this because I get so many questions about this and people just, even after they learn it, they forget it because some of it just doesn't seem like common sense. So what a lot of people do is they go, well, CleanSpark's at $11.71 and HUT 8's at $7.80. But I think HUT 8 is a way better company. So I'm going to buy HUT 8. But you can't just compare the stock price because here's the problem. If you go here, so HUT 8 has 166 million shares of stock. So when they do a price earnings, when they make money, they need to make $166 million to have a PE ratio of $1 per share. Versus CleanSpark, who got rid of some of their Bitcoin, so that's upsetting, but they didn't issue any new stock. Well, it's not true that they didn't issue any new stock. They saved a lot of stock that they would have had to issue by using their Bitcoin. So if I go in here, they have 35 million shares outstanding. And I think it's actually 37, but either way. So CleanSpark, if CleanSpark makes $37 million, they're going to have a PE of $1 per share. If HUT 8 makes $37 million, they're going to have a PE of 20 cents per share. So they need to make 4 or 5 times as much money to have the same price earnings ratio. And that's how stocks trade. There's multiple different ratios, but PE is probably the most important ratio. It's the way to compare apples to apples. Otherwise, you could just, you could sell 10 billion shares of your stock and get money. But the thing is, if you sell 10 billion shares of your stock, you need to make $10 billion just to have a PE of 1.
Do you know if they say stack their Bitcoin? Do you know if they use their Bitcoin to mine out, or like Marathon in their pool? Are they doing an equity thing where, you know what I mean?
They're not getting paid. They're not lending their Bitcoin and getting paid anything on their Bitcoin. Is that, if that's what you're asking? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not doing any of that. Most of these guys aren't doing that. There's one company that is doing that with 2,000 of their, might be Hut 8, with 2,000 of their Bitcoin, they're getting paid on them. But most of the rest of these companies are not. No, it's not Hut 8. Hut 8, I just, believe it or not, Meet Kevin just talked to the execs at Hut 8 like yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, they called us, but they wanted to get a deal, but I said Tom couldn't do it right now.
Still waiting to get better.
You know what's really funny is that they would talk to Meet Kevin when Meet Kevin dogged him. But whatever.
I know, he dogged them. He asked them some very silly questions. I mean,
I don't know how that guy, 40 million he says I guess he has? Is that monopoly money, do you know?
He asked them with a straight face, do you guys think you're going to expand your operations to the North Pole, because it's very cold at the North Pole, which would, be very cost effective.
And that would really melt the ice caps.
It's like, there's nobody at the North. I felt so bad for the CEO. Like, she did a great job, like, answering that, but that's a ridiculous question. Sorry, Meet Kevin, if you're seeing this, but come on. Are you going to operate in the North Pole?
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. It still seems ominous, just so you know, right now, talking to you.
What do you mean? Because I'm sick?
Yeah, because you're sick. I don't want to get you too excited.
I'm not contagious via the internet.
So my wife got COVID too. So oh, damn it! I'm not supposed to say it. Sorry.
Got the thing.
That got the thing too. So does Tom need to tell me something?
Hey, I've been in quarantine big time.
Yeah, so has she. What does that mean?
Thanks, Manuel. It's good to be back.
Oh, and I just want to say something. Tom, can you go into the SEC thing on Marathon and what that's all about? That kind of happened before you fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, and so far not much has come of that. They got an information request from the SEC, which is, I don't want to say it's typical, but it's not at all uncommon. And so, that rocked their stock that day, and people were freaked out. But at this point, right now, nothing has come of that as of yet. They're providing the SEC with the information that they requested. No wrongdoing has been found. No wrongdoing has necessarily even been accused at this point. So, I'm not defending Marathon. They may end up having done something technically incorrect. There's a lot of SEC rules, and the SEC's there to enforce them. So there's times where companies, even on their best efforts, they break some rules, or it is interpreted that they didn't follow the rules properly. But in my opinion, and again, this is not my legal opinion. This is just my having traded stocks for a long time. Most of these things seem to end in a fine of some sort. Very rarely, you do see some nightmare disasters. There's the Enrons out there that, turn into a train wreck. But right now, that would not be my default thought process. There's absolutely no reason to believe something major is going on unless we hear more on that matter. And it's not like they were hiding it. They disclosed it in their financial statements. They've cooperated with the SEC. So I'm not viewing that as a big deal. it could turn into something more. If we hear more, that's one of those where you don't jump to the worst case scenario. You got to wait to hear something actually happening before you make any big negative assumptions. It causes fear, but if you were to look at, I will tell you, I'm going to say more than half of the stocks that I trade in, as I go through their page, their Yahoo page. Yahoo's one of the 5 things that I use to, update myself on what's going on. They do a good job of compiling stories from every place. Half of the...
Oh my god.
What?
Bitcoin just got wrecked.
Oh, I'm watching. It's touching. If you guys can see my chart, it's touching this. I'm going to call this purple or pink. I'm sure there's a real name for it. But this was the ultimate low after the flash crash. So here's the flash crash. We recovered. This point right here is the lowest that we have been. We tested that this morning. We came all the way back up here, and now here we are testing this again. But it seems to be holding. We keep testing this line, and it seems to be holding okay.
What's your next support after that, Tom, if we don't hold that?
Well, let me get rid of that stray line. So there's one more stop along the way. This was the bottom of the flash crash. I don't know why this moved. So that was the absolute bottom of the flash crash. That was at around 42,400. So if we get a significant breakout and we start to get 4-hour candles that close below this, then I would say this is in play. To candle wick below it like this for a few minutes, all of these things have closed above that. So that's a good sign. This candle wick down and touched it, but it closed above. This did, this did, this did. We're in the middle of this one. So we'll see. If we truly start to close below this line, then we could get some momentum and go down here. I'm not seeing that. I don't see that. We've been in a very, look at even, this is this week. We started the week here. What happened? We started the week right here. We went up, we went down. We're exactly where we started. So nothing, this was a journey, but nothing's happened. We're literally at the exact same spot we were. This was at 1 o'clock on Monday.
Hey, I got a question for everybody. Where does people think we're going to end up at the end of the year with Bitcoin? Give your price analysis. And then I got one for you, and I think you guys will laugh. Start throwing it in there. What do you think, Tom?
Thanks, Kirby. Glad to be back. I'll let these guys answer first, and then I'll give you my opinion. Logan's asking, what are your thoughts on MicroStrategy? I feel the miners are the play for the short term. Yeah. But here's the thing. That's a great question. And I don't mind a portion of people's portfolio in MicroStrategy, but there is a fundamental, massive difference. When MicroStrategy gets a Bitcoin, they got to go buy it. So they're able to leverage a little through debt. So they have a very small leverage, but when they go buy a Bitcoin, they got to pay, if they want to buy a Bitcoin right now, they got to pay $45,735. When a Bitcoin miner gets a Bitcoin, and it varies from miner to miner, but Hut 8 with their NVIDIA chips, they're getting Bitcoins for $3,000 a piece. So when Hut 8 can sit there and get a Bitcoin for $3,000 and MicroStrategy has to go spend $50,000, that is a monumental difference. So the only thing that MicroStrategy can do is hope that Bitcoin goes up over time. Because if Bitcoin stays the same, they make no money. Now, I think we all believe Bitcoin is going up. I think it's going up a lot. I don't know the time frame. I'll get into what I think happened because I think we got sideswiped and we have a 4 to 6 week window here that we're just paying the price for. But, even if, let's say Bitcoin doubles, then MicroStrategy got in for 45,000 and Bitcoin's worth 90,000. Well, Hut 8 got in for 3,000 and their Bitcoin's 90,000. So how many Bitcoin does MicroStrategy have to buy to make the same amount of money that Hut 8 made on just that one Bitcoin? So it's apples and oranges. And that's not a knock against MicroStrategy. I think that guy's getting rich. He's become a billionaire doing what he's doing. I think that was very forward thinking. But it just can't compete with the... So the Bitcoin miners don't have to go get 120,000 Bitcoin to make the same amount of profit. They'll make probably more profit on 10,000 Bitcoin than he'll make on 100,000 Bitcoin. Not probably, they will certainly.
I'm going to make a meme from Kevin. Me, Kevin, by the way.
What kind of meme?
It says, you should just go buy MicroStrategy. Go buy MicroStrategy. Sorry.
Let's see, I'm just reading some of the... Anybody made a guess yet?
Uh-oh, someone changed it. So Plan B says 130. So Plan B missed November. Huge. You said something, Tom, real quick, about 4 or 6 weeks sideways. Why you said you kind of knew why, or why you felt why?
I have a very strong feeling that, and it's about Plan B, and it's not a knock on Plan B. You know, he came out and gave his prediction, and he has every right to do that, and the guy's been a big part of the Bitcoin community and infrastructure. So, but the thing is, when he came out and said Bitcoin 98,000 in November, 135,000 in December, I think that was big money's opportunity to absolutely punish the retail investors. Because here's what's happened. He got August, September, and October. They're saying that he got them right. That was a very liberal interpretation, in my opinion. And I know everybody got really mad at me when I was questioning Plan B. But the truth is, he said, the numbers he said was, this is going to be the minimum number in these months. And, the first 2 months, it turned out to be the maximum number. And then the third month, he missed by a little, but we all said, well, close enough. So those 3 months were pretty easy guesses because he did not go out on a limb at all in August, September, and October. Where he went out on a limb was in November. So that's 3 months setup of being in the ballpark, which I think if most of us guessed, we probably would have been in the ballpark for those months. And then all of a sudden he goes 98,000 in December. And I know because people inside of our group and our world all said, they put massive reliance on that. Everybody was convinced, that became the word. Oh, we're going to 98, or maybe we'll miss and only go to 80 or 85, but that's still awesome. Well, big money was able to take advantage of that. People leveraged up, everybody bought in, and it was the perfect time for a rug pull. I mean, it was like the masterful setup for a rug pull, which is exactly what happened. So I think had he said nothing at all, Bitcoin would probably still be in the $57,000 to $60,000 range right now. But I think that massive migration towards a mindset that we were going to be at 98,000 and then 135,000 allowed Bitcoin to get their legs chopped out from underneath them. And it's not permanent. All these moves, as you can see, every time there's a pullback, every time there's a flash crash, we go sideways for 4 to 6 weeks, and then we start to get healthy again. And who knows? Is it 4 weeks? Is it 6 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? We did have an 8-week one over the summer that, we just had to grin and bear it for 8 weeks. That was brutal. But then we went and hit 69,000, which was our all-time high after that. So I think we're living out that exact same scenario right now. Had he never said anything, I think we would have had a more steady run. That doesn't mean we'd be at 100,000 right now, but I think there would have been a little less pain and suffering.
A little less? So what you're saying, it was a setup. So what he's not telling you is It was a setup. Plan B was a setup. And I don't know why people still like him. I think they took advantage of him personally.
I'm not going to say it was a setup. I've heard that. I've heard that somewhere, but I'm not saying it.
Hang on, I'm going to look up MicroStrategy. So, to give you a better answer with MicroStrategy, can you imagine if he took the money that he has right now and put that money into mining Bitcoin? And then you could use that. I mean, because the logic is you could use that money and generate Bitcoin at, $4,000-$5,000. So you make the value up in the spread of what actual Bitcoin is. But his strategy is, and listening to him and seeing him talk all the time, his strategy is it's going to $1 million.
Right.
That's his strategy.
That is the core underlying assumption for his business model. He believes very strongly that Bitcoin is going to numbers that are so far in excess of what they are right now that he doesn't really care if he paid $47,000 for a Bitcoin or $61,000 for a Bitcoin, because at Bitcoin $800,000, none of that makes any difference at all. And he's got a 5 to 10 year outlook. And honestly, I mean, that's the way most investors have to invest. And business owners, they need a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. I don't fault him at all. I think he's right. I think his plan is going to work. I just think that as a retail investor, I can't go raise $5 billion and buy Bitcoin. So I would rather invest in the miners, who are a much more heavily leveraged play on Bitcoin than on MicroStrategy. It's all about leverage. I mean, the Bitcoin miners are a massive leverage play. And then if you dare to go get an option on a Bitcoin miner, you're leveraging the leverage. So you can you could also pay the price for that on times where, like this, where, Bitcoin goes sideways.
So then, I guess, with your theory then is, for an example, he has roughly 13,000, he has 13,000 Bitcoins. I just looked it up, approximately 13,000 Bitcoin. So what Tom's saying is, let's use Marathon as a great example. How many Bitcoin does Marathon have right now?
Yeah, they have like 7,500 Bitcoin.
They have 7,500 Bitcoin.
Now, they did buy some of their Bitcoin for 30 grand a year ago.
When do you think they will be at 13,000 Bitcoin?
Next year.
There be so Tom's saying there be, again. Oh, by the way, none of this is financial advice, but so there be at.
You sure that's all MicroStrategy has? I feel like they've been buying Bitcoin beyond belief.
Okay, I'll look, but I mean that's what it just said in this. I did a quick search and it says, wait, that was June 21. So let's say they have 15,000. Does anybody know how many Bitcoin they have?
I'm looking it up. Let's see if we can see together.
Are you kidding me? He holds 92,000 Bitcoins?
This thing says 114,000. It is over 100,000. I remember when he hit 100,000.
Over 100,000 Bitcoins?
MicroStrategy does.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's he's not one of. This company owns more Bitcoin than any other publicly traded company in the world.
So how much money did he raise for that 100? You know what I mean? I think he just get into it at the right time before it took off.
He's been buying all year.
Oh,
There's some that he bought at $55,000.
So what's the market rate of his company?
I think he's
market
at
cap.
$5 billion or something. Let's.
$5.92 is what I don't even know who this is. It says Google.
I'm gonna go to
So
his.
6
investor.
billion.
Wow, this is a pretty discombobulated investor relations page.
$6 billion divided by 115,000. So he has a true value of just his Bitcoin. So
Well,
and
they
actually
really
a little
conduct
premium.
almost no other business.
So the good news is if Bitcoin crashes, we should buy them. Not financial advice.
If Bitcoin had a huge crash, then you could get in on a big discount in hopes that it bounced back. But again, I would still argue I'll go buy the miners.
Really?
The miners, I gotta say it, it's not financial advice. This is my opinion. But when I do the math, I mean, it's just shocking the price they're selling these miners for right now. And people are probably getting sick of hearing me say that because Bitcoin's been going sideways and we've been getting tortured. But, I mean, the math is the math. I'm looking at this. Bitfarms, $4.73. CleanSpark, $11. And CleanSpark's at $400 million market cap. CleanSpark was at $1 billion market cap before they started mining Bitcoin. They were at
Yeah, so 500. Yeah, so you could pay $571 per share, right?
For MicroStrategy?
Yeah.
Yeah, no thanks.
So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I would
I
rather.
mean, as an institutional investor, that would actually be if you had extra money just to sit there and to just you just need to make a percentage on it. But we're trying to hit doubles, triples, and quadruples here.
The good thing about investing in his company is it's a straight up and even slightly leveraged play on Bitcoin. So if you don't want to have a bunch of Bitcoin on your balance sheet, or if you don't want to have to jump through the hoops of, going to a Coinbase or whatever the case may be and buying and owning Bitcoin, and you're more comfortable, you can just buy a share of Microsoft, and it's basically the exact same thing.
So, you know
Or
what?
MicroStrategy. I don't know if I said that.
This happened, Bobby. Craig Wright won the lawsuit, and he now retains 1.1 million Bitcoins. And he's saying, Tom, is he, or does he know who? What is it? How do you say that? Satoshi. I'm no good at names. How do you say it?
Satoshi.
Nakasami.
The mythical pseudonym for the person or persons that invented Bitcoin.
You have any thoughts, Tom?
I don't. No, who knows? That guy seems like we're never going to know who invented Bitcoin.
But does it matter?
It's fascinating that such a powerful financial instrument came from origin unknown.
I think that he wasn't. I think his business partner was. And I think it gets into a really deep dive. And I actually went through this with Tom when he was half listening. And it's interesting. Let's put it that way.
The guy's not Satoshi. In my very strong opinion.
He's not?
No. That's my opinion.
You got some questions here. Make us feel good, Tom. Make us feel good.
Let's see. If Bitcoin stagnates, miners better. If Bitcoin pumps to over 100K, MicroStrategy is better. See, I don't think that's true. At Bitcoin 100,000, you're going to see these miners 5x or 6x, Again, not financial advice, but
From today?
from their numbers right now. Because again, it's a massively leveraged play. If Bitcoin goes to 100,000, all MicroStrategy did was double their money. So they made 50,000 on their 50,000 investment. If Bitcoin goes to 100,000, Bitfarms made $92,000 on their $8,000 investment. You understand what I'm saying? Because they're getting their Bitcoin for, at most, and it's actually less than that now, they're getting their Bitcoin for 8,000. So every incremental dollar that Bitcoin goes up is even a further leverage that these Bitcoin miners are on Bitcoin. But the same is not true for Microsoft. Is always going to only just be a one-to-one leverage.
MicroStrategy.
I'm sorry, MicroStrategy. They're always going to be, and I say one-to-one. They did borrow some money, so it's a little better than that. But all they can do is reap the increase in the retail value of Bitcoin. Whereas these Bitcoin miners, they do the equivalent of minting money. So their cost basis is next to zero. And you just can't compete with that. The more Bitcoin goes up, the more these are worth. So the multiple gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And bigger. Sorry, you needed another bigger in there.
Eric, Bitcoin was a $1 billion market cap. You can look it up. They were trading at $42 in January, and they hadn't mined a single Bitcoin yet.
Cleanspark was not $8 billion market cap before they started mining. So here's an interesting thing. You ready?
Yep.
So 120. So I guess the highest that people are thinking of Bitcoin it is 53. What was the highest? 53, 51, 53.5. Plan B says 130K, 47K. Somebody said.
I'm gonna say
the price of Bitcoin.
I'm gonna say $58,000.
That's what you're gonna say?
Yep. I think we run back up to that range we were in before we flash crashed.
I can't. I gotta look something up before I give you my answer, and then I'll give you my answer. Dun dun dun.
Oh, you haven't weighed in yet.
No, I have a very interesting answer. I think this whole next week, coming up before Christmas, I think it's going to be sideways, if not even down pressure. I wouldn't be surprised if we lose another 3 to 4 to 5% on Bitcoin. I would not be in shock at all.
That could be. I'm just going to do we bounced off this line again, and we're back up to 46,200. So that's once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. These are 3-hour candles. So that's 5 times we bounced off that line recently. And it's held.
Eric S. has a... Yes, they had my BTC in January. I'm 100% positive on that, as they were mining in December.
They started mining in December. I think they mined 4 or 5 Bitcoin in December, and then maybe 10 or 20 in January. But they were not a Bitcoin mining company, and their market cap was over $1 billion. I mean, there's no way they got $1 billion valuation on their 15 Bitcoin they mined. Their valuation was on the microgrid side of their business.
Why?
People were very excited about that, and it was trading at 100x revenue. Their revenue let's put it in perspective, their revenue for the year in 2020 was $10 million, and 0 of that was Bitcoin. And that's in their 10K, which I just read.
Why do you think the valuations, they're 418 million Cleanspark is right now. Why do you think they pick on these miners so bad?
Well, I think it's all a part of. I think even if Cleanspark had not gotten into Bitcoin, they were a part of the small cap, high growth companies that were trading at 100 times revenue in January and February of 2021. In March and April of 2021, all of those companies got absolutely destroyed. So that is a group of 300 companies, and you guys probably know most of them. I unfortunately traded a few of them, and they all got just, everything went from, 100x sales to, pennies. Everything got crushed. So, and they fell right into that category. Now, what should have happened, and what Eric is saying is, hey, they started mining Bitcoin, they should have gone up from there. Because, that's a massive valuation, additional value to their company. But, they got taken out and then they didn't get credit for their Bitcoin. But most of these Bitcoin mining companies really have not gotten credit for what they're doing yet.
You were wrong, Tom. They mined 31 in December and 42 in January.
Oh,
wrong.
So you think their $1 billion valuation was based on their 31 Bitcoin? Because right now they have...
Yeah, that's true.
They have a $500 million valuation.
Yeah. So it was just that, because they were known for what were they doing?
They were in energy. They have what's called a microgrid. They only bought that Bitcoin mining facility in Atlanta to do a proof of concept that their microgrid worked.
Oh, wow.
So they never even intended to mine Bitcoin. And then they bought that facility, and all of a sudden Bitcoin skyrocketed. So they switched gears.
They're like, wait, you mean we can make a little bit of money or a lot of money? We can make a lot of money.
And they switched gears because now if you look in 2021, they're mining their energy micro stuff was $10 million revenue again. So that was flat. And they had $40 million of revenue in Bitcoin. So they're a much different company, but they're much better off, in my opinion, in the Bitcoin mining space.
And they mined 218 in November.
Right. So now they're mining Bitcoin, right? They went from, so like Eric was saying, they were doing 30 in December, 40 in January. Now they're already up to 200 in November. So they've made massive progress this year, and they've gotten no credit for it at all.
These guys are right where I was living until a couple months ago. A second data center, Gwinnett County, was acquired August 2021, and they plan, listen to this, I have to tell you this, and plan to invest $145 million in capital and human investments over the next 5 years. I've never seen it. Human investments.
They're gonna. What are these? I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
I know that probably just means they're gonna give themselves bigger bonus.
I'm gonna sell my CleanSpark.
That's funny. So did you ever put together a chart that shows like how many Bitcoins everybody has and?
Oh yeah, I continue to update how many Bitcoin they mine per month, how many Bitcoin they have on their balance sheet. I have a very extremely elaborate, I'm sure a bunch of you guys have something pretty similar, but I go through, I think, 15 Bitcoin miners. There's more than that. A lot of them are still doing zero. Some of the ones that are going to be huge players 10 months from now are conducting no business right now, but they've already bought the machines and they're coming. So that's the other thing, you got stuff like that where you got a company that's bought 19 exahash in machines. How do you value them? They haven't mined a single Bitcoin yet. They don't have a single machine yet, but they got $400 million and they put a deposit down on all those machines. So they're coming, but you got to see them execute first. Marathon's a perfect example. They had a lot of trouble executing, particularly in November. November was a nightmare for them. Having said that, it looks like possibly December's going to be a home run for them. So we'll see. Time will tell.
You know what everybody seems to forget? We let's say Monday comes out and the SEC approves a ETF for Bitcoin. What do you think happens to Bitcoin?
A true Bitcoin ETF is going to...
Not the future one.
Right.
Not the future one. Just a true...
that's going to be a game changer. I think that everybody is terrified of that because the floodgates are going to open. Cameron's saying he's 30% down on his CleanSpark. Should he hold? All I can tell you is that I have not sold one single share of my CleanSpark, and I did add some this week.
I did, but I bought more. A lot more, actually. Was it cleaners too overvalued?
Yeah, Eric, you're right. Eric's saying, listen, CleanSpark mined more Bitcoin than Marathon did in November, which is true. And Marathon's at a $4 billion market cap, and CleanSpark's at $400 million. It's totally absurd. That's why I'm holding my CleanSpark. I will hold that CleanSpark forever. I don't care. It's so undervalued. At some point, it has to correct itself.
Can you just explain, Tom, how people... I don't think people understand how rough and tumble the market is, and how misinformation and what else would you call it? Just fear.
Yeah, I mean, there's a word for it. FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. There's a massive, and I'm not a conspiracy theory person. This is just how big money works. This is about money. So you always got to remember, like, big money, and big money means $10 billion, $100 billion, $1 trillion. There are many funds out there that control that kind of money. When you're controlling $1 trillion, you know how easy it is for you to manipulate either a stock or a sector for a period of time. You won't do it forever, and there's no reason to do it forever, but that's a part of what we fight. You know, we're retail investors, and the retail investors have a bigger voice today than they've ever had, but it is still by far the very smallest voice in the entire market. You know, George was saying earlier, man, we should all rally together, you know, and you know, unite, and it's like, it's hard.
Right. So, and you know, I just want to give you a great example of this, and you don't have it on you do have it on your list. Look at Iran or Iris Energy, Tom. Pull that up if you don't mind.
Sure.
And look at what happened to them this afternoon. And I just find this very interesting.
Whoa.
For no reason. This is just big money going in on something, and they were actually halted at the end of the day because they took off. So,
I mean, this happened. This is at 3:30. They're still at $12.
Right. So you tell me that somebody isn't pushing this somehow or another, because I honestly think that is overvalued, personally. Not financial advice.
Well, I mean, let's pull up a 1 month. So they've been getting beat up all month, but everybody has. This is no different than all the other charts. So let's go to December 3rd.
Yeah, here, right there. Look at somebody puts down, Iris Energy, she's pop as analysts see sharp upside. You could say that on almost every single Bitcoin miner right now.
Right. See, these are another company. They've got a lot in the backlog. They've got a lot coming, but they're not doing much right now.
Right.
And to have a pop like that in a half an hour never makes any sense.
It makes sense. I just wanted people to see how when big money goes after something, they just can pop it.
Well, and they can take it out on Monday.
Right. Yeah, and they already did, by the way. After hours is down 10%.
This is nuts. I didn't even see that happen.
You didn't? Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's a mad world.
You got anything else, or can we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up. So just a final answer is we're in the middle of a green candle here, and we recovered off of this purple line. So we did test our all-time low right here while we were talking today. But we've pulled up. Now we got all weekend, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully everybody can relax this weekend. I don't know. This was not this was not a very fun week for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, but I held just so that you guys know, I held everything. I have not sold anything in almost a month. So I'm waiting it out. That's what I'm doing with this.
Now me, I sold everything, but I'm back in. I sold absolutely everything. I'm back in right now, though. Oh, I didn't give you my price for Bitcoin. Next year is 2022, so it's gonna be either 50, 52, 22, or 62, 22, 22. Something to do with a 2 is gonna be in there. That's all I know.
You got to pick a number. I picked.
Either 52
I
or
picked.
62.
I picked 58,000.
Give me that 10,000. You're not gonna give me that 10,000?
I'm afraid that answer is disqualified.
The only thing I am worried about, but it will be short-lived, is a Black Swan event. I heard that they discovered UFOs, and that's who invented Bitcoin.
Could be.
Real quick, do you invest in altcoins, Tom? Play for next year, or games, music, metaverse?
I have not invested in any altcoins yet. I've been doing my research. So I will tell you, I was slow, and I don't want to just jump in because this person said so or that person said so. So I have about 10 coins I'm looking at, and I really want to understand them better. It's going to be a part of my 2022 strategy, but I really just didn't get there in 2021. So, anybody, by the way, any of you guys that want to talk about this further, you can join the Discord. There's a link on my, you just look at my latest video and you can join the Discord, and I'd love to talk about that kind of stuff more over time. So, yeah, I got to get up to speed, and, I just don't want to, and I hear so much that you think stocks are confusing. The information swirling around altcoins, Web 3.0. I've been really researching Web 3.0 a lot. I want to get a better understanding of that, and I'm just not sure I get it yet. I know what they're saying, but I'm not sure I get the practical application. This feels like one of those concepts that I don't know how it comes to fruition. So some of you guys might know a lot about that. So I'd love to know more. I'm always glad to hear from you guys. I always get a lot of great feedback and a lot of great questions. And I want to thank everybody for the well wishes while I was sick. It helped a lot. I was very sick for a few weeks, so I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Thanks. 5222 is what I'm going with. That's my number.
52. All right. All
Okay.
right, everybody, have a great weekend.
You gonna get video out this weekend, Tom?
I am. I actually have a video that's done that I will be posting tonight on Hut 8.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Sounds good, everybody. Have a great weekend, guys.
All right, good night.